Hey, shalom, y'all. Hey, guys, it's Fletch. Welcome back to OTH. So this morning I was watching a video by Bear Independent, and it was a great video. It was about 2 minutes long, and I encourage you to check it out and subscribe to him if you're not already. I'll post a link to the video below so you can watch it should you choose to, and you'll have a better idea what I'm talking about. But anyways, in this video he was quoting FDR, and the quote had some great truisms in it. Rather than learning from another strong man, there were many comments that I would perceive to be coming from weak men, as the old saying goes, you know, trying to pick the speck out of your brother's eye when you have a plank in your own. Honestly, in a lot of ways, I don't really fault people for that, because that is the, you know, the Greco-Roman style that we have been taught, right? We are taught to debate. And a lot of times in debate, that doesn't mean that I have to prove that my stance is correct and true. I just have to disprove that yours is wrong. And so, of course, the way to do that is that, you know, I just pick apart anything that you say. You know, instead of you know, looking at the whole overarching message that you're conveying, I build myself up. I make myself look good by picking apart anything that someone else says, especially if they're a strong man, which personally I perceive, you know, Bear Independent to be. So that leads us into, you know, Stoicism versus Epicureanism. For those of you that aren't aware of such things, Epicurus was a Greek philosopher. And basically what he taught is that seeking pleasure was the greatest thing in life. And it wasn't physical pleasure, it was mental pleasure, even to the point of hedonism. Personally, I see us in a society right now that's where we're at, right? There's an old saying that goes something along the lines that hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And so it becomes a cycle that we find ourselves going through. Stoicism is what creates nations. Epicureanism is what destroys nations. And unfortunately, in my opinion, right now, we are finding ourselves in an epidemic of Epicureanism all across the West, right? Whether it's, you know, Western Europe or the Americas in general, because that's what we've all been taught. Just like, you know, we've been taught to debate one another rather than, as the scriptures teach us, to come and reason together. That doesn't mean that we all have to agree, right? Especially if you're a strong man and you're talking to another strong man. You're probably not going to agree on a lot of things, right? Because you're convicted in your beliefs many times, to most times, if you are a strong man or even a strong woman, for whatever that's worth. Having said that, we are finding ourselves, in my opinion, at the end where weak men create hard times. Myself and many other strong men that I know feel that the Father has led them to believe, know, understand, however you want to put it, that hard times are coming. The weak men that are leading the world that we are in, right? In my opinion, Obama was one of those. The Prime Minister of Canada is another one. The Prime Minister of France is another one, Macron, right? And what they're doing, guys, is they're pushing socialism. Socialism is what's being taught in grade school, it's what's being taught in high school, and it darn sure is what's being taught in college. I'm just going to say it as bluntly as I can. And that's just simply, guys, socialism is evil. It just is. There's no other way to put it. Understand clearly that if you read the Communist Manifesto, the only difference between socialism and communism is that communism is being enforced at the barrel of a rifle. That's why it is always the goal of socialism to disarm the public in the name of public security. And guys, we have to look no further than Venezuela to know and understand that. There's a video that you can actually watch on YouTube. Is about Venezuela. It was like 10-15 years ago, and it was a show like 60 Minutes or whatever, you know, and they were talking about how that Venezuela was, you know, the jewel of the, you know, South Central America type area, you know, because they were oil rich and had all this money. They bought into the lie of socialism. Now, not only are people eating dog food there, but they're eating their dogs to survive. And, you know, there's literally, you know, roaming groups of motorcycle brigands, right? You know, assaulting supply trucks and just taking what they want. Understand that, right? That hard times are coming. We have allowed ourselves, or our society has as a whole, on a macro level, right? We have allowed that to happen. Because of that, the hard times are coming. So it's incumbent upon me, it's incumbent upon you, the YouTube viewer, it's incumbent on us as a society as to how we're going to, quote unquote, weather the storm. And for some of you, that's going to mean that, you know, you literally have to make a decision. You're going to put one foot in front of the other and you're going to start walking, because you understand the Father has put the conviction in your heart that you know that you need to come out of her, my people, right? And that's something that for many of you who know who Pastor Joe Fox is, you heard him say that. Pastor Dal, you've heard him say that, because it's the truth, right? And it comes from the book of Revelations, and it's talking about how during the end times that, quote unquote, God's people, right, Yah's people, are going to have to separate themselves from society as a whole. And guys, I would also submit to you that it's very similar nowadays too in the difference between strong men and weak men. Weak men see strong men as a threat because they should, right? It's that basic human instinct. You know, they know that a strong man is a threat to their mere existence. And so they seek to control that strong man by legislation. They seek to destroy that strong man by muzzling his speech. They seek to destroy that strong man by limiting his ability to defend himself legally, right? And it's just like, you know, the epidemic that, in my opinion, that we have in public schools right now. Many educators turn a blind eye to the child who is bullying another child until that other child gets pushed too far, and then he fights back and he has to protect himself. Then, you know, the person that fought back is the one that's punished, and the bully is never punished. Well, the bully in many cases, guys, is the weak man, and the strong man is the one that says, hey, enough's enough, we're not putting up with this anymore. And we are finding ourselves increasingly, in my opinion, in a macro level in our society as a whole at that same level. We've come to the point where enough is enough. And it's incumbent upon us as men, or those who either see ourselves or want to be working towards becoming a strong or stronger man. You know, for a lot of us, guys, that's a hard journey, because we weren't taught that growing up in the school system in our society, right? We've all been taught, well, what are your feelings? Well, how do you feel about this? We're not taught that it's incumbent upon us to find out whether something's the truth or not, I guess is the heart of what the issue is, because there are rights and there are wrongs in society. If my heart is going against something that I know to be true, well, what society does, right, is they go to change the truth, right, or the perception of that truth, because they don't like how it makes our hearts feel, rather than us accepting the responsibility that it's on us to change our hearts, to get our hearts in line with what the truth is. And you'll hear it packaged really palatable as, well, that may be the truth for you, but that's not the truth for me. Things like that, right? Rather than, well, no, I believe the good book, and that's the Father's word, and if he said it, I believe it, and that's the way it is. And we just look at society as a whole right now and where we're at, and it speaks volumes about that. Understand that in your day-to-day travels, in working and dealing with people, that if you are a strong man, that you will have opposition. And if you're not having opposition, you're probably, one, not as strong as a man as you think you are, and two, it might also be, right, that you're in the eye of the storm, right? And that at some point, right, the storm's going to pass over you, and then you're going to start experiencing it again. We have been trained in our society to act and behave a certain way. Seldom is that way that we've been taught to act based upon what is right and wrong. Well, we're taught that if something makes me feel bad, well, it must be bad because it makes me feel bad. Instead of, listening to what Scripture tells us, that our hearts are deceitfully wicked, and who could know it? We, as men, need to, number one, be willing to stand up and take a stand. People like Bear Independent, Pastor Joe Fox, Pastor Dow, people like that. Hey guys, as long as we're talking about them, also understand that just because you learn something from another strong man does not mean that you believe everything that they believe, right? Or that, because we've all been taught that nitpicking, right? The debate. Rather than learning the things that you can from that friend or that brother, or maybe even someone, that completely disagrees with you on most everything in life, that there aren't truisms that you can learn from them. And that is also part, in my opinion, of the system that is continually trying to tear down strong men. And that's the way that they do it. It's because rather than listening to the whole overarching message of what that person is saying or what they're trying to teach you, you pick apart every little thing, right, that you may or may not disagree with, and you say, oh, well, I can't possibly learn anything from this person because they believe X, Y, Z. Having said that, yes, obviously there are some things, right? Anyone that denies Christ is Antichrist. And so, you probably shouldn't be listening to that person, right? But as long as it's not an issue that has to do with salvation, and they are a strong man that's in the arena, getting the bloody noses, getting all dirty, and taking the wounds, so to speak, learning by trial and error, versus some of the keyboard commandos that are out there, and living in their mom's basement, 40 years old, talking the talk, right? Making everyone think that they're big and tough because they know that the actual threat of someone putting a fist in their face probably is not something that's going to happen in the society that we now live in, because we live in an Epicurean society where the pen is mightier than the sword, all of those things. But also understand that there has never been a time in human history where when hard times came, that they were able to just sit down and reason together, right? Or have a debate, or however you want to put it. And evil people said, oh, gosh, you're right, we're being evil. What were we thinking? You're right, we should change that. You know what? Yeah, we're going to change that. And we're going to start treating you right, and we're going to start doing the right thing because you helped me see the wrong in my way. You helped me see the wrong in my approach. That doesn't happen. Eventually what it takes is for strong men that end up standing up to that and saying enough is enough, just like the bully, right? But then just like when the victim stands up to the bully, the teacher sees the aggressive behavior, right, of the person that's been pushed too far, so does the system, right? And so be aware of that. And if you see a strong man and you see lots of opposition against them, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Understand that. There's a lot, in my opinion, there's a lot to the old saying, something along the lines that you can judge how strong a person or organization is by the amount of people that are against them. Two young men that are big in social media right now that I have a lot of respect for are Steven Crowder and Ben, I'll think of his name here in a minute, but anyways, he's an apologist for conservative beliefs and way of thinking. You know, they literally, you know, try to shut these guys down to keep them from coming to college campuses and speaking, because they know that they're speaking the truth, and when people recognize the truth when they hear it. And they don't want that. They want people to believe their lie of socialism / communism and keep them in that paradigm or that way of thinking. So in closing, guys, just understand that just like, you know, in my opinion, Bear Independent made a great video talking about the truisms in this quote from FDR. We, as other strong men, are you going to encourage him? Are you going to embolden him? Are you going to stand in the gap with him? Or are you going to be the Epicurean that wants to nitpick all of the little things that you disagree with and try to tear that strong man down? So understand that, please, in your day-to-day walk, in your day-to-day life, that you know, we all have a choice, we all have options. Still, anyways, at this point, yes, you know, there are definitely a lot of things about living in the United States of America right now that I don't like and I wish I could change. But truthfully, there's nowhere else on this earth that you can live right now where you can live as freely as you do right now in the United States of America. And it's incumbent upon us as men to lead our families, to lead our congregations, to, you know, lead our tribes, however you want to put it, and stand for what is right, stand for what is wrong, and prepare for hard times. So hopefully this message has been a blessing to someone out there. If it's been a blessing to you, we always appreciate the thumbs up. And if you feel like this is a message that's worthy of sharing, by all means, please share it on social media, you know, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And I got big shoulders, so I can take it, guys. I hope you're having a wonderful and blessed day. We'll talk to you soon. Shalom.